Up+Adam.
Tractor systems are offline.
We are Beyond FM.
Beyond FM.
The future of broadcasting is here.
Up+Adam with Adam Montiel. It's community content from Concentrate. It's Up+Adam with Adam Montiel.
Some say life is where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Yes, some say life is just where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again.
Thank you so much for being Up+Adam. Happy Monday. My name is Adam Montiel. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. Had a great time at Opalo, their big harvest party. So much fun. I think I've been doing that party for like 15, 16 years. It's just crazy. I was telling the owners and some of the folks up there with Opalo, that party has not changed in all of the time that I've been there, but it's so perfect because you could think, oh, how are we going to it's truly an example of it if it ain't broke, right? You go, oh, we should do this, we should do that. But man, that party is just so solid, and they got the old like Serbian Balkan food and the dancers that come up. It's so cool. The culture, the time, the wine. It's just it's maybe the best harvest party in all of Paso. It is so much fun. They do such a great job. So thanks to Opalo, celebrating now 25, 26 years of what they're doing, spreading the love of Paso wine and that wine gospel. It's the best wine country in the world here. And they're sharing with folks. So it was great. Thanks to the friends at Opalo. What a beautiful weekend, right? All right, today, we had a lot of good feedback. Joshua Rosa was on Friday. Some of you reached out after that one saying it really hit different. And it kind of landed in that going deep category. Well, buckle up, because this conversation, I was excited because I wanted to do that again too. This conversation does that too. It's one of those episodes where you want to tune your EQ in just as much as your IQ. You know what I mean? That emotional intelligence. Today, I'm joined by a guy who's made a career out of going backwards, but in the best way possible. Jonathan Goldstein is the creator and the host of the podcast Heavyweight, a show that takes people back into the past to unpack the moment that they never got to finish. Maybe it's a lost friendship. Maybe it's a family secret, an apology left unsaid. And through road trips, reunions, and the kind of conversations most of us spend our lives avoiding, he helps people find closure or something close enough. Later in the show, we're going to be talking to Jonathan Goldstein, the creator, the host of this podcast. It's really a show that takes people back into the past to unpack the moment that they never got to finish. That family rift, a friendship gone silent, a missed goodbye. We'll talk about the power of looking back, the stories that stuck with him, and why he thinks sometimes the messiest moments make the best radio. He's also the creator of CBC's Wiretap. He's a This American Life veteran and a podcasting pioneer who picked up an iHeart Award for Podcast of the Year for changing the game with this podcast. I'm honored to have him here. Jonathan Goldstein will join us Up+Adam. First, we've got a few stories, some local like this one. The FBI now assisting Santa Barbara County Sheriff's detectives in the search for 9-year-old Melody Buzzard. Have you seen this case yet? Reported missing last week after a Lompoc Unified School District Independent Studies check-in kind of raised some red flags. Deputies say Melody's mom, Ashley Buzzard, has not been cooperative, and the last confirmed sighting of Melody was back in August. The only photo authorities have is at least 2 years old, so it's just not helping. Neighbors along this street, Mars Avenue, where this is all going on, they've put up signs lining these people's lawns saying, "Where is Melody?" And by late Sunday, a few dozen people actually gathered outside the home, chanting for answers, others praying for Melody and for her mom. Deputies briefly addressed the crowd and said they don't believe Ashley has been home in the last 48 hours. Neighbors aren't buying it, telling reporters they've seen the garage door open for long stretches of time, long as something like 48 hours with the garage door open, and even claimed, this is weird, even claimed people saw that they were burning papers inside the fireplace the night before. The garage door, I guess, is shut now. So this remains a missing persons investigation. No criminal charges at this time. A Facebook group for Melody ballooned to hundreds within hours, and a small memorial of candles and stuffed animals now sits outside the house. It's a weird case. if you've seen Melody, had contact with her in the last year, call the sheriff's tip line at 681-4150. Anonymous tips can go to 681-4171. You can also go to sbsheriff.org. And we'll keep on this one. Let's bring Melody home. What's going on with this one, huh? All right, some other stories going around. A big court swing out of Washington, D.C. This is kind of a weird case. 76-year-old homeowner, her name is Josefa. She just won a case to stop her 73-year-old neighbor, Thomas, from smoking weed in his home after she said the smell was so strong it made her gag and even throw up once. She wasn't after money. She told the court she just wanted fresh air in her house. The fight dragged on for 5 years. A trial judge ruled for her back in 2023. Thomas appealed. Now the D.C. Court of Appeals has backed her up again, saying her right to use and enjoy her property outweighs his right to use and enjoy his marijuana. He argued he only smokes once a day for a few minutes to deal with health issues, he told the court. And I'm not Snoop Dogg over here, he says. Judges weren't buying it. They called the timeline doubtful. The order, it actually bans him from smoking within 25 feet of her home. And that includes his property. So if he violates it, he could face civil or criminal penalties. Remember, weed has been legal in D.C. since 2015. This doesn't change that. What it does do is it set a new nuisance precedent that other annoyed neighbors and other courts could look at across the country, where this case could set some real precedents. Bottom line, light up if it's legal where you are, sure, but if your smoke is drifting next door and making folks sick, a judge may now tell you, take it somewhere else. Crazy, huh? Wow. Okay, what else is going on? This was kind of a crazy story out of Portland and OHSU. Scientists just pulled off a wild lab demo. Listen to this. Early human embryos made using a skin cell nucleus, donated egg plus a sperm. Think of it like this. Swap the egg's DNA with the nucleus from a regular skin cell, inject sperm, and then hit it with a little jump start. Electrical pulses and a drug called riscophatine, if I'm saying that correct, probably not. That extra activation was the only way these reconstructed cells would actually divide. They're calling the whole vibe mitomeiosis. Instead of like mitosis, mitomeiosis. Okay. Trying to make a somatic genome act like a little bit of an egg. And it worked, sort of. A small fraction made it to blastocyst. Okay. Small fraction made it to blastocyst, about 8.8%, while normal IVF controls were around 59%. And the big blocker is chromosomes. Instead of pairing up neatly and splitting like nature does, these chromosomes scattered randomly, no recombination, lots of imbalance, which likely explains why most embryos stalled out. Odd twist, chromosome 8 kept behaving differently, splitting moms and dads' copies in like a not so random way. Why? No one knows yet. This is kind of what happens when you start messing with stuff, right? Apparently, this is not fertility treatment. No embryos were cultured past day 6. It's a proof of concept that if the massive biology hurdles get solved one day, it could really help people who can't produce viable eggs. Now, for now, it's years away, and the science is really the story. Skin cell, egg cytoplasm, sperm, a few early embryos, but man, it's a long road ahead. But nonetheless, huh? Something else. Science! All right, finally, this last story out of Paris. Did you hear about this? What a heist. Paris woke up to a movie heist at the Louvre. Most popular, most traveled museum on Earth. This thing took 7 minutes flat. Just after doors opened yesterday, a pro crew pulls up with a truck-mounted ladder, the kind that you would use to move furniture, scales into the Apollo Gallery, cracks 2 high-security cases holding Napoleon's French crown jewels. They slice a window with angle grinders, threaten guards with tools, no guns, and they just bounce. 8 of 9 pieces out of the crown jewels, gone. Think tiara, crowns, necklace worn by Queens Marie Amélie, emerald necklace and earrings from the Empress, this kind of crazy brooch, big corsage, all kinds of crown jewels just gone. Now, the crown Empress Eugenie, they found her crown on the ground outside of the Louvre, but broken, damaged. Insiders saying these aren't just pricey. It doesn't even begin to describe it. This is priceless heritage right here. So by 9:30 a.m. local time, gallery evacuated clean. Thieves torch attempt the truck, that foiled by security, then flee on motorcycles. Cops recover gear on site, grinders, blowtorch, gas, gloves, a radio, even a decoy yellow vest. Prosecutors opened a case for aggravated theft by an organized gang. Foreign interference not ruled out yet. The president vows they'll get the works back and they will nail the crew. We'll see. Art recovery folks warn that if these thieves want cash, they'll melt the metal, recut the stones, history be damned. You really can't sell these the way they are. You'd never get away with it. The Louvre shut down for the day to preserve evidence. Paris's center mayor says that this was a meticulously planned heist. And the last time the Louvre saw something like this, you got to reach back to 1911 when they stole, the most prized piece of the Louvre, the Mona Lisa. Bottom line, world's most visited museum. 7-minute smash and grab. Crown jewels is gone, and Paris now on the hunt. What a story. All right, we had lots of these headlines today. Lots of some lo-fi headlines. All right, let's get into our conversation, our chat with Jonathan. Before that, let me tell you about my friends at Life Elements. You ever open your medicine cabinet and be honest, how much of that stuff actually does anything? Life Elements is what happens when clean, plant-based ingredients meet actual healing results. They make powerful wellness products that are not just natural, they work. Bug spray that repels and smells good and is healthy, okay, safe for your skin, your dog. Relief sticks for sore muscles that feel like literal magic. Balms that soothe everything from bites to burns, all handcrafted in a Tascadero by people who know what they're doing. But good people. Swing by their spot. Let them know that you heard them on Up and Adam. Check out Martha and Kurt, lifeelements.com. Use the promo code ADAM while you're at the website, lifeelements.com, ADAM. That promo code will save you 15% off your entire cart. Pretty cool. You can also find their stuff at The Hive in Arroyo Grande, the general store downtown Paso. But I really encourage you to check out their spot, 7425 El Camino Real, Suite O, A-Town, back right corner of the plaza. You can't miss it. Because what's in your cabinet should actually take care of you. You fill it with stuff from Life Elements, and it will.
It's Up and Adam with Adam Montiel.
All right, our guest today has been called a pioneer in modern storytelling. I think he might even be something even more rare. Jonathan Goldstein is the creator and host of the hit podcast Heavyweight, a show that takes you back into the past to face what never got finished. Maybe it's a friendship that ended without a word, a family secret left to rot, an apology never delivered. Jonathan helps people confront those moments with honesty, empathy, and just enough comedic timing to keep you from falling apart. He's a former This American Life regular, the creator of CBC's cult favorite Wiretap, and the recipient of the iHeart Pioneer Award for his work in audio. I am thrilled to have him here. Jonathan Goldstein, thank you so much for being Up and Adam.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, super interesting. So many of your episodes, they start with like a feeling, like a nagging memory, an unresolved moment, a voicemail that just won't stop playing in your head. And then there's something beautiful about how Heavyweight treats the past, not like a place to escape, but like a place to heal. When you carry someone else's unresolved story on your back, how do you know when it's time to set it down? How do you know when an episode is truly over?
Wow, what an excellent question. Sometimes it's just for practical things. You just kind of and you reach the end of the amount of time that you have together. Like the end of a therapy session. I think in some ways, you can keep revisiting the story and keep updating, but at a certain point, I think you just have to close the door on it. But I think for Broadly speaking, I think you know when something is over when you feel some change in the person.
Now, one of the wildest things, Jonathan, about Heavyweight is how you'll have someone crying and then out of nowhere you'll hit them and us with this perfectly timed joke. Not cruel or even deflective, it's just real. How do you know when it's okay to be funny in a moment that's deeply emotional? I struggle with this because I just use humor all the time. Is this an instinct? Is it editing or something deeper about how you see the human experience?
Again, thank you. This is that's a really nice question. Sometimes I get it wrong, or I think the best episodes are the ones where the alchemy is just so like where you feel like they're in equal parts sad and funny, and the funny is meant to kind of to shade the sadness, Like I think the best kind of jokes in the show are the ones that feel like they have a certain kind of pathos to them. It's like that term that they use in painting. I'm probably pronouncing this wrong, but chiaroscuro, which has to do with the way that the light enters a painting, like in those old Rembrandts or something,
Right.
where a little bit of the light that actually allows you to appreciate the darkness and vice versa. So when you get it right, I think like each one kind of underlines the other.
Yeah, I like how you put that. One of the wildest things about Heavyweight is how you'll just that dynamic to me. So it's something that I keep always like coming back to. I mean, you've helped people confront childhood bullies, long lost relatives, ex BFFs, but you're a character in all this, the narrator with kind of skin in the game. What's the moment, maybe on mic or off, where Heavyweight stopped being just about storytelling and this project, and it kind of becomes something personal, something like you had to keep doing?
I think, it started the other way around in a weird way. It began with stories about me and my family and my close friends. The very first episode was about my trying to reunite my father, who hadn't spoken to his brother in 40 odd years. I mean, these were two octogenarians very set in their ways. And I think there was something in that process and seeing that creating a forum for these two old guys to talk that made me feel like, oh, maybe there's a way to kind of do this for other people.
Mm.
So it kind of that was the trajectory. And yeah, it started from a kind of personal place and then it grew.
No matter where you fall on like the Charlie Kirk thing that happened a couple weeks ago, you see people having unresolved things in their life that they're like tending to. Like it was just so raw that people are like, oh, I'm going to church, or oh, I'm forgiving this person that did me wrong. Or so I don't know. Do you ever worry that you're carrying emotional weight that belongs to someone else? Or is that the job? I mean, to hold it for a little while so someone else can breathe through this and get through this.
Hmm. I think it's yeah, I think it's helping them through, and I think the listener even feels a little bit of this, and in the
Yeah.
best of circumstances also feels the sense of relief at the end too, when the burden is kind of um, let go of. In the best episodes, I think people are able to relate to what the subject is going through, and that subject could kind of they could sort of live in some ways vicariously through that subject. So I
Hmm.
think it's I guess I'm holding it, the listener's holding it. I guess we're all kind of holding it together in a way.
Mm. I've noticed this fascinating thing in your work where you think you're going to tell one story, and then somewhere along the way, it kind of shape shifts, and suddenly, you're the one that's exposed. Has there ever been a moment where the story cracked you wide open, and you had to kind of choose whether or not to keep that moment in the final cut and really go there?
Yeah, I think again, like a lot of the better episodes have that aspect to them. I think like there is to take as an example the one that I was mentioning about my father and his brother. There's a moment about halfway through the episode where I'm sincerely wondering whether I made a mistake in trying to bring these two guys together. That it seems as though like this is not going well. And in the moment, it's just an awful feeling. and I think I had no choice but to kind of acknowledge that, in the episode. Um,
Mm.
but then to come out on the other end of it makes it all the more rich. But it's kind of like a gamble. It's a doubling down and hoping that you're going to get there. But when you're kind of like in the thick of it, in the middle, um, it can be a little scary, I think.
And then you see it going sideways or potentially going sideways, and you can kind of feel like, oh, I brought this one's on me, right? I mean, God, heck no, right? That's a tough thing to struggle with,
Yeah, because I mean, the last thing you want to do is make things worse.
right?
And there's always, when you start meddling, I mean, there always is that possibility, you know. So we've gotten better at trying to like figure out the areas where we can help, and the areas where maybe, it's better to seek therapy or that, something akin to that.
I'm kind of curious, how do we find that one? I have not seen or heard, and I really want to now. Like, I want to know how that one goes. Is that one a older one, recent one, or how do we find that one? Specific episode.
Well, I'm talking about the very first episode, the one that became kind of the blueprint for all the others, is about my dad.
Got
It's
it.
the episode called Buzz, and it's about my father, whose name is Buzz, who was 80 at the time, who was uh, trying to um, trying to sit down with his older brother Sheldon, who at the time was 85, and try to figure out where it all went wrong for
Mm,
them.
man. Um, Sometimes the show, it feels like this beautifully awkward time machine, where you're not just revisiting the past, but trying to, like you mentioned in that situation, heal it, rewrite it, or even just touch on it again. Is besides that one, if you had your own kind of personal episode of Heavyweight as a producer or recorder, the whole deal, what moment in your life would you probably like to revisit and do this for? Why and why?
I mean, I'm not proud of this, but I feel like I have a profound capacity for regret. So I mean, it runs the gamut from, conversations with my 8-year-old that I had yesterday that I wish that I had done a better job of, conducting as a parent. Um, to just, I mean, I've done some episodes that deal with my own revisiting of the past.
Mm.
There was one episode from a couple years back that was very meaningful to me, which was I had a best friend when I was growing up who I had kind of lost touch with, and I had learned was dying, and kind of dying alone, um, without a lot of support. And um, I re-entered this old friend's life, and I think that was uh, that was a profound experience. And I mean, the thing that I think you touched on this, but it's I guess a meta theme of the show, and it's the something that we just keep coming back to in some capacity in every episode, is that the past is really just an abstract idea, that there is an aspect to us as human beings that are living in all times at once. And it's almost embarrassing. I mean, like, when I got back on the phone with this old friend who I hadn't spoken to in like 30 odd years, that when we were friends when we were like 10-year-olds, there was something about reconnecting with him that just felt um, like not nostalgic or not something lost in the distant past, but something that was very present. And kind of rediscovered that love that I had for this kid. Um, and through that experience, you kind of realize how adulthood is a kind of performance, that we are just still kids, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Go to therapy. You find that out real quick, right? Man.
Yeah,
So,
that's right. That's what it's really about. It's about kind of reliving these moments in a theoretical way. And the show just tries to kind of dramatize it in a way, like tries to actually, it's sort of like I've described it as like therapy as a kind of amusement park ride, where you're like out in the real world and you're actually going through the thrills and tension of actually having these confrontations in like a real world literal setting.
Wow. There's kind of this grace that I kind of think of when you talk about that. Like, even if things don't resolve, like, I don't know how that one ended. Even, people can sometimes stay complicated. What have you learned about forgiveness? And not so much as like a finish line, but as something that we can live alongside this mess.
I think like, and maybe this is just a kind of a truth that we all know, um, but at the same time, it's still kind of hard to grasp, is that forgiveness is really for you, you know. Um, I had a friend who kind of was in a situation where he had to forgive a parent on the parent's deathbed, and
Mm.
in their mind, they were kind of feeling like, you really don't deserve this. You don't deserve this. Was what he was directing at the parent. What he was thinking in his mind is that this parent just didn't deserve his forgiveness. But ultimately, I mean, it was for him to be able to forgive the parent was for him to be able to lay to rest a burden. So I think forgiveness is really about reopening our own hearts, because when you fail to do that, I think you're closing off a part of yourself and you're losing a part of yourself, which is the tragedy, I guess, of being a human being. So I guess it's for us.
Mm. I kind of want to rip the curtains back a little bit. Your voice is iconic. It's not just how it sounds, but the texture and the feel to it. A little wry, a little sincere, a little self-effacing. It's like you're inviting us in, even when you're not sure you want or are comfortable being there, in a cool way. How did you find your voice as a narrator for something special like this? And what do you think it says about you that you narrate other people's most personal moments with such care?
Well, I don't feel like I have any special, like, if I were to compose like a resume for this job description, I don't know that I really have the bona fides. I mean, I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, if I could just throw it back to you for a moment, like, that you're a good broadcaster. You're doing a very good job of describing my show, in some ways, like a better job than I feel like I'm capable of. I think like I really rely on editing, and having producers who are able to kind of, help me refine my voice and get to the best parts of it and tell me, which parts are funny and which parts are, really uh, wise and useful. And so in a lot of ways, it's just a very time-consuming process of editing. I don't do the kind of audio that you do, where I'm able to just kind of sit down and chat with people. I don't do this kind of thing very often.
Mm.
Mostly I'm in kind of, a darkened room with a microphone by myself, recording my narration and re-recording it and writing it and rewriting it. And, drafts go through so many versions. So I think it's a real team effort, I have to say.
Yeah. Thank you for this nice compliment. That what you said, that really means a lot. I'm curious, Jonathan, like the wildest story someone actually said yes to, the one where you're like, oh my God, there's no way they're going to go for this. And then they do.
I think there's always a little bit of an aspect of that to every story where I am uh, completely like impressed by the subject. This is a bit of a spoiler. Were we talking about the one of the episodes this season about a 14-year-old who robbed a bank? Um, and the adult man who was trying to come to terms with what he had done as a kid. And it was such a sensitive subject, even all these decades later. So few people knew about this, that he had done this in his life, even close friends, that he wanted to use a pseudonym. He didn't want to go by his name, and we used the name X. We just call him X throughout the podcast. And I mean, this is a bit of a spoiler, but at the very end, he kind of feels like, and this was a process that went on for years. I mean, this was an episode that took, I think, somewhere like 4 or 5 years to produce, where we were chasing down the tellers, the customers, the security guard, who was there that day that he kind of wanted to make amends with. And by the end of the episode, he came to a place where he was able to forgive himself enough to kind of reveal his real name. And I was so surprised by that, because we had gone to great lengths to kind of cover up his identity for years. And in my experience, when you do a story like that, the person's not going to change their mind. And he did. He kind of felt like he had reached a point where he felt like he wasn't proud of what he had done, but he also just sort of felt like he had changed as a human being since then, and felt like this is who I am. And in order to tell my story, in order for anybody to really tell their story, they have to be able to have some aspect of this is who I am, this is me. It's like the beginning of Moby Dick, or I think Great Expectations, or whatever, where they just, call me Ishmael kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he revealed his name, and to me that was really brave and surprising. I didn't think he would do that.
Oh, I'm coming up on 30 years where I lost my friend as a junior in high school, Jimmy Ferris. He was murdered. I lived in Agora Hills, and you can look up this case. It made the news, and it was a big deal because of a lot of things, being after the OJ case and the ins and outs of the case. But it was a big debate with the felony murder rule, too. 4 people go in, and they go in to steal weed. They end up stabbing the 2 young men, one of them my friend Jimmy, and he was the one of the 2 that died. The other one was okay, ended up being critically hurt, but then okay. Anyways, the felony murder rule put all these 4 in jail for like life without parole, even though one person wielded the knife. And one of the people in this case was someone who smirked in the courtroom, was punching my friend Jimmy in his last moments of life. And I went to every day of the trial and saw this guy just smirking and being this, kind of just like this little pompous asshole. And over the years, I would follow him. And I don't know why I would follow him, but see what's going on. He would do art, and I would have anger inside me. And this year, I find out, felony murder rule changes. The governor, Schwarzenegger, does a commutation. All these things happen. Brandon Hine is now out of jail. And I reach out to him.
Wow.
And he responds back to me. And we go back and forth. Then we get on the phone for about an hour and a half. And just learning the way this guy has gone and how he's changed in his life, I felt something so different to him, and I was like wondering what is happening, because like now, and then at the end of this phone call, Jonathan, I said, man, and I forgive you. And I was like, oh my God, that just came out of my lips. What is going on? The power of coming to table on something like this. And I mean, I'll never forget that, but I mean, and that's kind of like what your whole show is about, but it's just so heavy, especially when you don't even think it could ever happen. And here you go, life's paths just do what they do. And then here you are, you're on the phone with Brandon Hine.
What compelled you to reach out to him like that? Was it scary?
It was, I see him trying to quietly trying to get out. Like he has this art that he tries to put out there, but he's gone from just this vehement defense of what his behavior was to like, no, I understand the weight of what happened. And I'm like there's something changed in him. And from what I understand, because we had a long conversation, believe me, I'd love to interview him, but he doesn't really want to now. But we had a long conversation. He had a tough time in jail. For a long time, his life was going so good there, and he would get transferred to someone else, then he'd ruin it or this, that. So he had to really come to a come to Jesus moment in there where he's like, if I don't really start living in here the right way, I'm never going to get out of here. So when I saw how transformative this experience was and how something really changed in him, I don't know. I felt like the way I looked at him changed.
Wow, that's an amazing thing that you did. You were just doing that as a civilian. You weren't recording that conversation with him.
Right. No, totally. Yeah.
Reach out. It was really nice talking to you. You have good stories.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you, Jonathan. Thank you for the time, and thank you for being Up and Adam. And of course, links to the show notes too. Heavyweight, and can't wait to cross paths again. I would love to chat again.
Yeah, I sincerely, I would like that. Thank you, Adam.
Some say life's where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again.
right, big thanks to Jonathan Goldstein for joining us today, for bringing that kind of conversation, one that just sticks with you. Heavyweight just isn't a podcast. It's a masterclass in humanity. Humor, the power of looking back in order to move forward. All those links for Jonathan, check out Heavyweight, check out pushkin.fm, all the links in the show notes. All right, well, don't forget, October in San Luis Obispo, anything but ordinary. It is Arttober. From live performances to public art, museums, and the always great piano in the plaza, creativity is everywhere, all around you. So don't miss it. Find your Arttober adventure at slowcity.org/Arttober. All right, tomorrow, True Crime Tuesday. I hope you are having a great beginning to your week. Gorgeous outside. Thanks to Moonshiner Collective for original music on the show called Start Again. Thank you to our friends at Tamber Winery for giving us the Tamber Lowbro Studios. Check out their wines, the Village of Arroyo Grande, Timbre. So you spell it, tamberwinery.com. And thanks to you for rating, reviewing, subscribing to this podcast wherever you listen to it, making us a pattern, part of your day, part of your listening. It really means a ton. Thanks for sharing this with a friend. Until tomorrow, I'm Adam Montiel. Enjoy your Monday. Enjoy the beginning of your week. You got this. We'll talk tomorrow. Thanks for being Up and Adam.
Some say life is where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again. Let's start again. We'll start again. Let's start